You lost the moment you reacted. Yes, you, barking back like a dog who mistook his own echo for bravery. What you call authenticity is often just panic dressed in ego. The need to answer immediately, to explain, to justify, to shout, "I am right," is nothing but a confession of internal poverty. You could have been the storm that watches in silence. Instead, you became the flag that flutters with every gust of wind. Who commands the world? Not the one who screams louder, but the one who can. Remain silent while everyone else burns. Tell me, from which city are you listening to this? Comment below. I want to know how far this truth travels and where men still breathe before they bark. And if you're still here, if you haven't closed this video out of cowardice, like it now and follow this channel, because what I'll say next might save your dignity or destroy what's left of it. They told you silence is weakness, that calm is passivity. Fools, silence is the language of gods, and calm is the armor of those who no longer bleed for validation. You see, the truly dangerous man does not react, he observes. While the herd shouts to be seen, the sovereign waits to be forgotten, because in being forgotten he becomes untouchable. The world fears what it cannot predict, and the man who holds his tongue holds the battlefield. Your stillness is not emptiness, it is presence, purified, sharpened, sacred. If this is making sense to you, not just in the brain, but in the gut, comment below with one word: presence. Let the weak scroll away in search of noise, but if you're still listening, it's because a part of you has not been domesticated. Subscribe now, not for me, but for the part of you that still remembers what it means to be untamed. Emotional control is not repression, it is rebellion, against your own chaos, against the indoctrination that told you to feel everything, as if truth were in the tremor of every tear. No, truth begins when you choose which fires to feed. The man who acts only when provoked is a puppet, but the one who chooses not to act and who smiles at the bait and walks away, that man terrifies the system, because he is no longer governed by reaction, he is governed by intent. And nothing is more dangerous than a man who does not need to prove himself. Let me ask you something. Have you ever entered a room and disrupted everything without saying a word? That, my friend, is real power, not because you were aggressive, but because your calm threatened their performance. The modern world is a stage of fragile egos and overexposed emotions, but the serene man, he ruins the play. He reminds the actors that they are nothing but noise. Comment, "I lead with silence" below, if you've ever felt the weight of your presence unsettle the room, and if not, stay, you will. You were not born calm. Don't flatter yourself. You were forged through fire, humiliation, and nights where rage strangled your sleep. True serenity is not a motivational quote printed on a mug. It is the ash that remains after your soul has burned and refused to die. Those who wear stillness like a costume, who meditate because it's trending or breathe deeply just to perform, will crumble when life strikes with real chaos. But the man who has tasted his own madness and still walks slowly, that man becomes stone, not cold but immovable. He doesn't use calm, he is calm. And that distinction terrifies those still enslaved to every emotional gust. Modernity worships speed. Reply now, react now, post now, feel something, even if it's empty. But have you noticed? The ones who move slow rule. The men who do not rush, who think, disappear, delay, those are the ones who shape destiny. Not because they are lazy, but because they are ungovernable. In a culture of dopamine and desperation, the one who can pause becomes a mystery. And mystery is always feared. If you've ever felt suffocated by the urgency around you, comment below. I refuse the rush, and let the algorithm choke on your silence. Let's speak of judgment, that favorite tool of the insecure. When they call you cold, arrogant, unreachable, they are not describing you. They are confessing. Yes, confessing their own inability to endure your self-containment. The man who does not explain himself, who does not flinch, who listens without defending. He holds up a mirror they cannot bear to look into. Their accusations are projections. Their anger is fear in disguise. And the more stable you are, the more unstable they become. Your silence reveals what they have always tried to hide, that their identity depends on reaction. And you have become unreadable. But here is the final insult to the modern soul. Not only do you not respond, you do not even notice. You walk through noise like a ghost, their criticisms, dust, their praise, wind, because you are not performing, you are existing, and that is revolutionary. If you've ever watched someone unravel simply because you didn't react, type "I saw the mask fall" in the comments. Yes, let this video become a battlefield where the unseen warriors reveal themselves. And if you haven't yet, subscribe now. The war I'm speaking of is not out there, it's within. Reactivity is the suicide of strategy. Every time you flinch, reply, explode, you abandon the throne of your own consciousness. You give the crown to the moment, to the impulse, to the enemy who didn't even need to lift a finger. And worse, you start to believe that your reaction is authentic. No, it is programmed by your past, your trauma, your hunger for validation. The man who cannot hold still is still being held by the ghosts of his unhealed history. That's why silence isn't just restraint, it's revolution, the refusal to keep playing the same emotional loop. And in that refusal, the tyrant inside you begins to starve. True power does not tremble. It does not advertise itself. It does not need witnesses or applause. The strongest man in the room is often the one no one is looking at until it's too late, because while others display strength, he embodies it. His presence bends the room. His calm interrupts the pattern. You cannot fake this. It must be earned, forged, lived. If you felt this shift, where you no longer react because you finally remembered who you are, comment, "I sit on my throne," and sit indeed, like a god who does not descend to answer insects. There is a kind of man who walks into a room and alters its gravity, not by speaking, not by posturing, but by being. He does not raise his voice because his existence is already loud. He does not demand respect because his presence withdraws it from others without a word. This is not charisma. This is discipline turned into aura. It is what happens when a man stops trying to impress and begins to emanate. He is no longer in the room to be liked. He is there to observe, and that unsettles the crowd more than any scream. We live in a world obsessed with visibility. Everyone shouting, everyone performing, everyone bleeding their emotions on timelines like public altars. But the true leader, he withdraws, not because he's afraid, but because he is whole. He doesn't chase relevance, he attracts silence. If you're tired of pretending, of emoting on command, of begging to be seen, comment below, "I disappeared to become." And if this resonates with the part of you that is done performing, then share this video. Let them wonder where you went, while you become someone they can no longer touch. Calm is not a trick. It is not something you use to manipulate the world. It is something you become after being broken by it. Every scar you carry silently has taught you something louder than any scream. The men who are truly serene are not the ones who never suffered. They are the ones who stopped reacting to their suffering. They transmuted it. They let the fire pass through them and learned how to breathe inside it. That's why you can't fake calm, because it smells like war. It speaks of battles survived, not avoided. It is the perfume of a man who no longer fears collapse, because he has collapsed and rebuilt himself in silence. The weak call it coldness, but what they fear is not your indifference, and it's your independence. Your refusal to be moved, provoked, manipulated. In a culture of emotional puppets, the still man becomes a threat, a reminder, a ghost of a time when dignity mattered more than display. And make no mistake, that ghost is rising again. If you've stopped apologizing for your stillness, if you've embraced your detachment not as defense but as identity, comment, "I walk alone, but I am not lost." And if you're ready to lead others with the same silence that saved you, share this message. Someone needs it more than you think. They will tell you to hurry, to respond now, to prove yourself in real time. But urgency is the anthem of the unprepared. When you move with patience, with calculation, with inner rhythm, they panic because they cannot predict you, and what cannot be predicted cannot be controlled. This is why stillness, in its purest form, becomes a weapon. The man who resists the pressure to rush becomes a variable in a world built on patterns, and in a battlefield of noise, the most dangerous man is the one who waits. Listen to me carefully. This is not about becoming a statue. This is about becoming a storm with eyes closed. The kind of man who can be insulted, ignored, misunderstood, and still remain aligned, because he does not depend on outer noise to know his inner truth. This is emotional leadership, not controlling others, but mastering your own vibration when the world collapses around you. If you've ever sat in chaos and felt nothing shake inside, comment, "I held the line." And if you're just beginning this path, let this video be your threshold. Step through or step aside. I am not asking you to be silent. I'm daring you to become so powerful that words are no longer necessary, that your very breath changes the temperature of a room, that your absence speaks louder than their tantrums. Most men crave recognition. You will learn to crave sovereignty. That is the difference between being liked and being remembered. The herd follows the loudest, but history is changed by the quiet few who knew when not to act, when not to scream, when to vanish and let the void do the talking. And perhaps this is your moment to stop reacting, to stop flinching, to stop wasting your sacred force on proving something to those who would never understand it. You were not born to be a respondent. You were born to be a presence. So build that presence. Carve it from your scars, temper it with time, and wear it like armor. If these words have struck something ancient inside you, something proud, something hungry, comment, "I rise in silence," and do not look back. The man you used to be cannot follow you. Here, let them keep talking. Let them keep reacting, shouting, exhausting themselves in the theater of self-expression. You will not join them, because you are not here to participate in the noise. You are here to outlast it. While they perform, you prepare. While they beg to be seen, you become the thing that cannot be ignored. This is not ego. This is not pride. This is the discipline of becoming undeniable. And when the storm passes, when the dust settles, you will still be there. Not because you fought harder, but because you stood still while they destroyed themselves. And now I leave you with this. The world does not need more noise. It needs men who can hold fire in their chests without screaming. Men who choose when to speak, how to move, and why to remain. If you are becoming one of them, subscribe to this channel. Join the few who have chosen sovereignty over spectacle, and share this with someone who's still mistaking volume for value. You are not here to entertain. You are here to endure in silence, in presence, in power,